Every time I heard a siren, I would think, is that Derek? Are they going to pick Derek up? And then an ambulance. And every time I hear something happen, they found somebody, I'd say, oh, is that him?
I grew up in the Fillmore district when I was a baby, and I went to a parochial school called St. Dominic's with nuns.
Being a single parent in the 60s was different than it is today.
At a young age, I had to pick Derek up from preschool, and I was only in the first grade. Pick him up from preschool, then we'd go home and make sure all the doors were locked.
I was working full-time and keeping a house going, and my children went to private school. To this day, I don't know how I did that.
I had a great big stuttering problem, and that's why I used to fight so much, because they used to call me stupid when I stuttered. So Sister Ann, in the first grade when I first came, she would pull me aside and give me extra lessons, and I would fight, and then they held me back because of all the fighting and not participating in class because I wouldn't talk, because every time I did, somebody would make fun and I would get angry.
I think one major issue was he didn't have a relationship with his biological father. I think he felt an emptiness in that. I mean, even though we had a stepfather that, provided for us, but I think on an emotional level, Derek just didn't have that connection with your biological father, and every child wants that.
When his stepdad entered the picture, Derek was 5 years old.
All of a sudden, there was a man in the house, and I didn't know who he was, so I was quiet.
Oh, as a little kid, he was a fun kid. Always laughing, always having fun. So he was a great kid at that time, real great kid. When he started going to junior high school, that's when the change started.
Well, his grades kind of started to fail when he got in junior high school. I think he just kind of felt a little alienated from the family, was trying to find his own way and his own group that he could identify with.
I may have noticed changes in him and didn't want to see it.
I was smoking weed and drinking in junior high, and I started selling it.
I even found some in the house and still, I was doing it, holding it for a friend. And I wanted to believe that. High
school was cool, I was cool. I was with the cool guys. I could talk. I had the weed. Me and my buddy Alan Brown, we started selling weed, and we would go up to Humboldt, and we met a guy up there, and we would get pounds of weed, and we'd come back, and we were the weed boys in high school, and everybody came and got their weed from us.
I pushed it away. I didn't want to believe that he was involved as deeply as he was getting involved.
About 2 months before we were supposed to graduate and go to the prom, a guy had picked my pocket and pulled my bag of weed out, and I hit him and took my weed back, and we got kicked out of school. I had the alternative, either jail or the military. And that's how I ended up in Germany in 9 feet of snow.
Well, actually, I was happy that he went to Germany. He was in the military, and I thought, okay, he has a chance to meet different people and maybe start getting his life together. But he found the wrong crowd in the military. And when he came back from Germany, we were in the same neighborhood, so he got right into the same group.
When I got home, everybody, hey, you back? And, life had changed. It wasn't weed no more. Everybody was selling cocaine. So they gave me some cocaine. Welcome home. Glad to see you. This is what we doing. You look good. And I started selling cocaine. A good friend taught me how to cook it. This is what we do. We cooking it now. Take a hit. And that's when the devil just took control, and I not only selling it, I had a real addiction then, and that just took me to a whole nother level.
He started getting arrested, started having stints in jail.
I got shot and stabbed, and it didn't make me change.
There will be extended period of times that we wouldn't know where he was.
San Quentin Prison, Jamestown, Susanville, was one in the desert, I can't remember, Tallahatchie, something, and Soledad.
My mom's coped with Derek's addiction by staying on her knees and finally realizing that it wasn't her fault.
I said, God, if you have to take him, at least I know where he is.
Something changed in me when the loneliness became unbearable, and it was like I would look around and there was nobody, just me and the drug.
Well, first he went to Adobe treatment program, and then after Adobe, he was clean for a while, and then he went to the Bay Area Rescue Mission.
And I graduated there, and they had high hopes. And I stayed clean and sober for the better part of 5 years.
And then when he relapsed, we got in touch with the director there, Mr. Sherman Harris.
He loved Derek, and so he said, we have to do something. So we talked to Regina. Regina talked to him at least, and he said, let me make a phone call.
He ended up going to the Union Gospel Mission in Spokane, Washington.
Next thing I know, I was on a plane, getting off in Spokane. They told me what bus to catch and where to go. I came through the doors. Everything was white. I was like, what did you do? I'm not going to stay here. And I called him, and he said, you stay there. Christians have no color.
I think that he was accepted unconditionally, and that he was around people that just really cared about him as a person, not necessarily his race or where he came from, but just that he was accepted unconditionally.
Derek was in a recovery program in the Bay Area before coming to the Union Gospel Mission. And sometimes that happens, where you need to, you get just the start of recovery. But when you have to change lifelong patterns, it's a strong shift to another road, another track. And I think the Union Gospel Mission here in Spokane was that second track he needed, like that, longer, more intense.
He went through our program and was a graduate, so he worked in the kitchen during the time he was taking classes in the program.
Derek was in the program when we first started coming down to serve lunch. He was working in the culinary program and always did a great job cooking, And then he graduated from the program and went and got a job and did other things.
He moved on and got a job at the Davenport Hotel. So he worked in their kitchen for quite a while. And then he moved on to Spokane Country Club kitchen, where he worked for Chef Camito.
It was neat to see Frank Camito, who works for the Spokane Country Club, give Derek a chance. And he really wanted to invest in his life. And so that was a great opportunity for Derek just to grow as a person, and not just cook, but actually almost in a mentor way. And I think that created a real stable Derek. It built upon what he'd already learned at the Union Gospel Mission.
And one of the things that was rewarding about my role in Derek's life is that he got it. I was able to come alongside of him, not just as a boss, but a little bit more than that, and as he got it, he seemed to realize that I was trying to help him out, and then he did stuff with it. He worked harder, and he would bring more. He'd bring food up to me and say, hey, what do you think about this? And then he really was open. I did see a change from the guy who was a little bit, I don't know, maybe even more than a little bit, but a little unhappy when you told him something wasn't up to standard, to a guy who now was really pushing his standards and stuff.
Well, it was around Christmas time, and the cook who was here left, and so we had an opening, and I knew about Derek from the past and knew he'd been working for Chef Camito. So I figured anybody who works for him is going to have good training. So we sought him out, and he came, and we hired him, and it's been a great success.
He became legit. He got hired on at the Davenport. These are top-notch places. And then the Spokane Country Club. That's pretty awesome. And so, of course, the Union Gospel wanted him back. So now he cooks for us. And there's nothing like a smile from Derek Mobley.
I'm never going to really be sure what I did or what I gave Derek that'll be of lasting value. But I do think that I really treated him as a chef and as a person, and I helped give him a lot of confidence and helped even give him some of the skills for him to develop that confidence and stuff. And I mean, he's going to do with that what he will, and it seems like he's picked something really perfect fit. He's in a good situation. You can see that he's just more vibrant and alive and stuff in the position he's in and stuff. So I feel really good to know that I had a part in that.
Well, the community has been really critical in building confidence in Derek that he does have the cooking skills. Even though they started at the Union Gospel Mission, that he had the cooking skills to get back into businesses and prove himself. And they had to believe in him, and they did.
Oh, he always was good. He could always get jobs because people liked Derek. But he really loved his job at the mission. You know, I guess he likes giving back.
When Derek is healing, the family is healing. And when a family is healing, the whole community is healing. He's giving back to the very people that are in a place where he was at one point.
I think the biggest transformation that I've seen in Derek's life is confidence. He carries himself with confidence, he carries himself with grace, and he's able to extend grace to other people.
I feel fulfilled working at the mission. I thought it was going to be about cooking, but it's more about relationship and connecting and sharing my story and what I've learned.
I get them in phase 3, and then to see them actually using their gifts, it's amazing. And able to give back. You know what I mean? Not just take, but give back. And be everything that God has designed them to be is huge.
There's no way you can tell me that God did not have a plan for Derek's life. Derek kept jumping off the path, but God kept putting him back on it. And the plan, I strongly believe, was to be in Spokane at Union Gospel Mission, doing what he's doing right now.
God has definitely poured out his grace and mercy, and I'm thankful every day.
I'm the Derek I was supposed to be a long time ago. Yeah, the Christian God just had some work for me to do. He had to take me to a place so he can give me this resounding faith that lives inside of me. My relationship with Jesus is the 4 point of my life. I wake up, I live that, I believe in that, that's who I am. It comes before women, job, and money. It's my faith, and nothing can shake it.